Durham Mayor Steve Schewel has officially started his second term in office. What does he feel was accomplished in his first term? What did he learn from the challenges the city faced during that time? And what does he see as the main issues that need to be addressed in his second term? The answers to these important questions are already having and will continue to have a profound impact on Durham's future. Welcome to City Life. I'm Beverly Thompson. Joining me to reflect on his first term and what he hopes to see accomplished in his second term is Durham Mayor Steve Schewel. Welcome, Mayor, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Beverly. Glad to be with you.
Thank you. So, Mayor, it's hard to look ahead at what you want to accomplish without looking back at what has been accomplished. But even before we go there, I'd like to talk to you about something that's been top of mind for most people here in Durham,
Sure.
and that's the situation with McDougall Terrace.
Yeah.
Can you explain to us what the city's relationship is with the Durham Housing Authority and how the city could possibly help with the situation that's going on now?
Sure. Well, we have a very close relationship with the Housing Authority, which we want to have. Mm-hmm. In a lot of cities, the housing authorities are pushed away and the cities want to have nothing to do with them because, frankly, it's difficult. The federal government has abandoned these public housing authorities all over the country. They send very little money down to renovate them or to even to maintain them. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of cities have just pushed them away. But in Durham, we have taken a different path, which we have embraced our housing authority and the people that live there. Mm-hmm. We have funded recently renovations of Durham Housing Authority communities at Daymar Court, at Laurel Oaks, at Maureen Road. We're about to do the same at J.J. Henderson. Mm-hmm. Because the conditions that we've seen at McDougall Terrace are conditions that are shared all around the country and all around Durham in terms of public housing communities. Mm-hmm. So in Durham, we have been putting millions of dollars into the redevelopment and the renovation of Durham Housing Authority communities, and that's an important role. We appoint the Durham Housing Authority Board. I feel very good about the board that we have. Mm-hmm. We have a liaison to the Durham Housing Authority. Mayor Pro Tem Jillian Johnson is doing a great job as our liaison. I was formerly the liaison to the Housing Authority. So our relationship is very close. And people have asked me, how do you feel having this responsibility thrust upon the city? I feel like it is our responsibility to make sure that everybody in our community has safe, sanitary, decent, affordable housing. We'll get into this in a minute, but that's exactly why we passed our affordable housing bond, is to take on just this kind of question. But yes, we have a close relationship, and my heart goes out to all those people in McDougall Terrace who have been displaced. It's terrible to be displaced from your home. And we have 170 families, a few more than that now, who've been displaced, and we need to make sure that while they're out of their homes, whether it's a week or two, or in a few cases could be longer, that they are well served, that they have everything that they need, the transportation to school that they're getting from Durham Public Schools, health checks for some of the elderly and women that may be pregnant and people that may be ill, making sure that they have they're getting those every day. They're being given a cash card to pay for their food and other incidentals, transportation if they need it. All those kinds of things need to be provided and are being provided, but we need to make sure it's being done well. And at the same time, we need to make sure that we're when they're able to come back to housing that is safe and secure and sanitary, and that's critically important. The Housing Authority has the lead role, but we are right there with them, and we want to make sure that we're doing that for all of that community.
Any ideas on what the long-term solution might be?
Sure. I mean, what's happened at McDougall Terrace, I mean, no one knew about the potential carbon monoxide situation, but that's an acute situation that we still don't know the results of that because we haven't heard back from the medical examiners and so forth. But aside from that, we've all known forever, for decades. I mean, McDougall Terrace is one of the oldest housing authorities in the state, if not the oldest. We've known for many years that there's been decades of neglect, and we have known that for a long time. And because we knew that, that's why we passed the affordable housing bond. That's why this city stepped up by a 76% majority about 2 months ago to pass a $95 million affordable housing bond, $60 million of which is targeted at the Durham Housing Authority, just because we knew this situation existed, to redevelop these communities and to end the isolated poverty of people in these communities by helping them live in mixed income communities, and to give them the kind of housing that all of the rest of us enjoy. We have to make that happen. And that's what the housing bond was about and is about.
So I would suppose you would see the housing bond as one of the biggest challenges, actually affordable housing as one of the biggest challenges, and the housing bond itself being passed is one of the biggest accomplishments for the city in your term.
Yeah. I mean, the housing bond that we passed is $95 million. It's almost twice as large as the second largest housing bond that's ever been passed in the history of the state. And I'm very proud of our community for supporting it like it did, won every single precinct in the city. That is critically important. We know that the most important problem facing Durham are the problems of housing affordability. And we've seen the effects of gentrification, people being pushed to the margins of our city, people who have lived for years in their neighborhoods no longer being able to afford to do so, both renters and homeowners, because taxes are going up and because the valuations of their homes are going up so much. All of that has created a situation in Durham that we have to take on head on. We're not going to be able to stop the forces of gentrification, these powerful market forces. There's a difference. I've heard different numbers of people that move here every day. It may be 15, it may be 20, but it's a lot.
A lot.
A lot of people move here every day, and those are forcing the housing prices up. Those people are forcing them up. They want to live, a lot of them are young people that want to live near downtown, and they want to live in old houses, and old houses don't get old fast. So there's a limited supply of them. People are forcing the prices of this housing up. And the housing bond is an attempt to intervene against those market forces to try to help create a different future for our city. And that's what it's about. And I'm just very proud that we got such a tremendous resounding support for it from our community.
So with that said, what do you consider some of the other big challenges you've actually faced over the last couple of years?
Well, I think that the other challenge that has been most on people's mind, and this is not new, this is always on people's mind and should be, is gun violence. We know that in Durham, 2 years ago, we had 240 people shot with a gun. Actually, 3 years ago, 240. Last year, it dropped to about 200 in 2018. 2019 will be about the same number. So 200 people shot, not shot, Beverly. Every time that happens, it tears a hole not just in them, but in their family, in their neighborhood, in our entire community. And that is a devastating, devastating thing. And we have to do everything within our power to take this on. And, and I can talk about some of the things that I think ought to happen in that regard.
Okay.
The thing that we have to think about when we think about gun violence is there's no one thing that is going to stop it. But what here's some of the things that we know. Good policing. Do we have a well-led police force that has enough resources? And we have 550 uniformed officers, and they are incredibly well led by Chief Davis and by her senior administrative staff, or the other chiefs. We have great training for our police officers, some of the best training in the state, if not the best, for our police officers. And this includes training not just in law enforcement, but also in crisis intervention, in de-escalation, all the kinds of things that can help keep us safe. So one thing is good policing, and good tactical policing, and a well-trained force that's well supported. The second thing is, do we have basic services that can help people stay out of, prevent us from having crime? Drug treatment, drug education, mental health services. Most of these things that are provided not by the city, but by county government and other agencies. Are we doing a good job with those things? And that's critically important. We have to do that. The third thing that we have to do is we really have to have community safety, thinking about community safety that's beyond just policing. Ask any police officer, ask anybody, and they will tell you the police can't do this by themselves. So what other kinds of, we're about to start in the next year a community safety task force, which will be working on other non-policing ways to keep people safe. And I think that's going to be critical work. The last thing that I want to say about gun violence, and I think this, I really want everybody to take this away. We are not going to stop gun violence in Durham until we have common sense gun control laws in this state. As long as the state requires us to allow guns in bars, in restaurants, in trails, in parks, as long as we're not allowed to control the sale of guns at flea markets, as long as we don't have background checks, a decent background check system, which the state government has not passed and is opposed to, we are not going to be able to get the guns off our streets. We have as many guns in this country as we have people, more.
Amazing.
And we have to get guns off our streets if we're serious about fighting gun violence. And that means common sense gun control laws. They're widely supported in Durham and across our nation, and we have to have them.
So, Mayor, let me ask you, how do you answer people who say that the council did not support the police chief in providing more officers?
Right. Well, I think that, I really respect all my colleagues. I want to say that from the start. I have 6 great colleagues on the city council, and those colleagues, honestly, we are mostly together on pretty much everything. As you are aware, you watch us. This council is very united on almost everything. We did have a 4-3 vote to not give additional police officers to the chief. I had proposed a compromise. She had proposed 18 officers. That didn't pass. I proposed a compromise with 9. That didn't pass either. But I will just tell you, I respect people on both sides of that. I understand people that think that the main thing that we need to be doing is putting our resources elsewhere in other ways to prevent crime, as well as those people who felt that, no, the most important thing was that we provide some more officers. I believe that we will get another request from the chief. I hope that we will be providing more resources for her as she will ask for. But I just want to say I think there were very good arguments on both sides of this issue, and occasionally we disagree.
So the issue may not be off the table.
Oh, no, it's not off the table. It'll be back.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure the chief will be coming to us for more resources, and, it's my hope that we will give them to her.
Okay. So let's pivot just a little bit and talk about Durham Light Rail.
Sure.
That was a big issue as well. So how do you see the future of transit now in Durham with light rail off the table?
Yeah. Well, I think I should start by saying losing the light rail was a tremendous loss. I don't want to sugarcoat that at all. We had, at the end of that light rail rainbow, $1.25 billion in federal funds and $250,000, not quite, but and a large amount of state funds to come with it, almost $1.5 billion of funding. And we had passed our own local tax, which we had passed to support this. We weren't able to get the job done, and we had a couple of critical partners that did not want the route to go in the way that it did, and I don't want to get into all the details of that because there's no sense crying over spilt milk.
Right.
But I just want to say that we have got to make a beautiful phoenix grow out of the ashes of the light rail. That's our job now. Yeah, it was a blow, but hey, got to put that behind us and move on. And we will move on. We have now a comprehensive plan study going on by our planning department that's leading this, a new comprehensive plan for Durham, land use, all those kinds of things. And folded into that is a new transit plan. And that transit planning for Durham is being led by our planning department, super capable, but they're involving a lot of other partners, Go Triangle, the county, the state Department of Transportation. We'll have a lot of partners participating in building a new transit plan. I will tell you what I think the most important thing right now is.
Okay.
And that is we have to be able to do 2 things with our transit plan. We have to be able to do regional transit because we know what I-40 and 15501 are like, and we have 100,000 more people living in Durham in the next 20 years. It's going to be a lot worse. We have to have decent regional transit, and that means commuter rail to Raleigh, which is very important, and it also on the existing tracks that we have already. So it should be easier than the light rail. We'll have to we'll have to buy a whole lot of new right of way and create those problems. But also potentially bus rapid transit lines. All of those kinds of things need to be considered. They're important, but they don't come for 10 years. What's on the ground now is just as important, and actually, in terms of an equity lens, more important, and that's our bus system. We have got to improve our bus system and continue to improve it. We're spending a lot of money on that now. We spend a ton of city money, as well as some federal dollars that come to us, to run a bus system. We keep our fares very cheap. The average rider, because there's so many free passes and so forth, the average rider, bus rider on Durham now is paying about, Go Durham now pays about 32 cents a ride. It's very inexpensive. We have to keep it that way, and I would like us to move towards free bus service. But in the meantime, we have got to add more routes, we've got to add more frequency, and we have to continue to improve the bus system that we have. We've steadily improved it. We need to do more, and that's super important.
So that's on the agenda for the
Very
coming
much
years.
on the agenda, yeah.
What are the topics like shared prosperity? I know
Yeah.
that was a key
Sure.
theme of your State of the City last year,
Yeah.
and I know you have one coming up. So we want to talk a little bit about that.
I
as
know
well.
everybody's super excited about my
They
State of the
are,
City.
they
I
are.
understand that there's some Hollywood interest this year.
Definitely. Heard mention of a prize.
Oh yeah, great. Yes. Our shared prosperity work is super important. I mean, when you think about Durham, 80% of the people in Durham are able to share in our newfound prosperity. But fully 20%, mostly people of color, are not sharing in that prosperity, and we have to change that. One of the ways in which that we believe we can change that is through our Built to Last program, which is being developed now. That starts with standing up a nonprofit. You know the way Downtown Durham Incorporated advocates for downtown businesses.
Right.
In Built to Last, what this nonprofit will be doing is instead advocating for minority and women-owned businesses who have been left out, many of them, left out of the opportunities created by our prosperity in Durham now. We want them to be included in this work. And so this organization will advocate for those businesses, provide them with technical support, and connect them to resources. In addition to which, we will follow that with a debt and equity fund that supports these businesses. So that's one of the ways we really want to build shared prosperity. There's a lot of other work too, but I think that is a key aspect of this, and we need to make that happen during this year.
Anything else top of mind for you right now?
I think that one of the other things that I'm very proud of, and I don't think we ought to forget, is the amazing work that we've done during this past year or two on making Durham a city of second chances. We have put a tremendous amount of work. We have had funding from the Bloomberg Foundation to create an innovation team here in Durham. And we have now, with city funds, continue to fund that innovation team. And one of the things that they have done is they have taken on the issues of expunction and driver's license restoration in a huge way. And just to speak to the driver's license restoration, I'm sorry I don't have these numbers right in front of me now.
That's okay.
But we have restored driver's licenses for, the last number I saw was 15,000 people. And that number is going up every single week in cooperation with our judges, our district attorney. I say we've restored the licenses. We can't restore the license. What we have done is we've taken away the charges that have been on their record that might have been for years because they couldn't pay the court cost. We've eliminated their fines and fees. So we've put them in a position where now they can go and get their driver's license again.
And what does that mean to them?
Think about that. Yeah.
What does that mean to them?
If right now, if you don't have a driver's
job?
license, you can't get a job. How do you even get around your town? We know that a lot of people are driving illegally. That's bad for all of us. But a lot of people aren't driving at all now. And they have got to have their licenses back. And I have heard so many people have said to me, I got my driver's license back through what's called the DEER program. And that DEER program has changed lives. And I'm just extremely, extremely proud of it. I know that we have, well over $1 million in fines have been taken off the books for people. And these fines have things that, something happened and these fines built up. Some of these fines are, I can't remember the average life of these fines, but some of them are 20 years old and people still haven't been able to get out from under them.
Right. It's an amazing program by any estimation.
I'm very, very proud of it.
Yeah. So Mayor, we know you've accomplished so much and there's so much more for the city to do. You personally, though, what has this role representing Durham and being the head cheerleader and person representing the city meant to you personally?
Yeah. That's a great question. I'll tell you, it's several things. One is sometimes it's just honestly just incredibly challenging. last night we had a city council meeting where we heard from the residents of McDougall Terrace and their friends and allies, and it was heartrending. It was heartrending. And to feel the responsibility to help those people, it's a big responsibility, and I will just tell you, it's hard. I want to just, say that as clearly as I can. It is being mayor is a challenging job. I really admire Bill Bell. He did it for 16 years. I'm starting into my second term. It's difficult and challenging, but it's also an incredible privilege. It feels like a real gift to be able to do it, a gift that my community has given me, to be able to try to help everyone meet these challenges and to do this work well. The other thing about it is I love representing my city because it's such a wonderful city. I feel like a lot of my job is this. I see people out there working on something and go, awesome. I see somebody over there working on housing. I see somebody over here working on community safety. Here's somebody else working on trying to get a trail built. See somebody else over here. Whatever it is, just going, having that role of really encouraging good people to continue to do their great work is just a super important part of it. And it's an amazing privilege, and I'm so grateful to have it.
Great community.
Oh my gosh. Durham is, I will tell you, if I was young, I'm about to be 69. If I was young and I could live anywhere in America, and I knew that was going to be the city that I was going to be able to live an amazing life in, was going to have the quality of life that every city aspires to, that's going to be prosperous, we have an incredibly well-run city, and from a governmental standpoint, Durham is that city. Durham is that city. And that's why so many people are moving here, because people know that Durham is that city.
So I was going to ask you, what do you tell people when you travel? What do you say about Durham?
Yeah. Well, there's so much to say. I mean, we are a city that embraces everyone. I think that's really our trademark. One of the interesting things is recently the Washington Post published a story about migration and how it showed how many people were moving to Durham. We're very high in terms of number of people moving in here. But we're, per capita in this country. But we're in the top 10 per capita for African American in-migration, white in-migration, and Asian American in-migration. Not only are we a very diverse city, we're a city with no racial or ethnic majority. But we're also attracting a very diverse in-migration. That's very unusual. Very few cities are doing that. We embrace everyone in Durham. We want you, no matter who you are. If you are a transgender kid, if you are a refugee from Syria, whoever you are, we want you in Durham, and we will embrace you, and we will love you, and we will help you, and we will support you. And that's what I want people to know. We have our challenges, for sure, but this is a city that if you come here, we will take you in. And that's what we have to do for the folks at McDougall Terrace. We have to prove that to them as well, and we will do that.
We will. So, Mayor, anything I haven't touched on that you'd like to mention while we're on the air?
I think one thing that I would like to say is we have roughly 2,700 city employees. And another thing that I feel is my role as mayor is to represent them and to tell the people of Durham how fantastic this workforce is. One of the things, so I'll just brag on Durham a little bit more.
Go ahead.
We were recently named the 4th best run city in America by a website that ranks these things called Wallet Hub. 4th best run city in America. I mean, there are a lot of cities in America, Beverly, and I'm just so proud of that. We are financially well run. We are, all our basic services, whether it be fire, police, the way we provide and plan for the future of our water system, the way our solid waste department. Not only are they innovative and doing innovative things, but they are providing the basic services at an incredibly high level. And I want to tell everybody in the city that, because I'm very, very proud of it.
Great.
Yeah.
So, Mayor, thank you so much. I realize how busy you are, especially now. And you're planning for your State of the City coming up in February. And we certainly invite our viewers to stay tuned for that. And thank you so much again.
Beverly, thanks for having me anytime.
All right. Well, that does it for City Life. Don't forget to follow us on social media, watch us on Durham Television Network and on YouTube, and listen to our podcast on iTunes. I'm Beverly Thompson. Thank you for joining me to learn more about city life in Durham.